Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're taking a look at a big climb to veteran in the Open Ultra League featuring an extremely unique team. These battles were submitted to the channel by a fellow content creator, Bandman Clayton, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now Bandman is well known for running some very unorthodox teams and Pokemon that other trainers might not be able to have success with, but he's able to get wins. This team features a Tapu Koko on the lead, XL Oranguru on the safe switch, and Annihilate as the closer. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches. Picking up a decent lead in the first match, Tapu Koko versus Shadow Feraligatr. Even though Tapu Koko is hitting the Feraligatr for super effective damage, Feraligatr gets the charge attacks way faster. So if Tapu Koko wants to win the switch, it will actually have to go down a shield to do so. So Tapu is going to be shielding up the Hydro Cannon, opponent will shield the Nature's Madness, they're going to be able to withstand the Volt Switches to make it to Hydro Cannon number 2, and Tapu Koko is going to double shield to get the full farm down and exit with energy. Opponent is now going to send in a Shadow Gliscor, so winning switch advantage is very nice, as this way the Gliscor is not going to meet the Annihilate. Opponent shields the Nature's Madness, but Tapu Koko gets to another one. Their defense has been debuffed. That does massive damage to the Gliscor, and Tapu Koko putting in a tremendous amount of work. The Gliscor is basically at 1 HP, in comes the Annihilate, opponent sends in their own, it's a race to the Shadow Ball, but instead of throwing the Shadow Ball, the switch at the perfect time, catching the Shadow Ball onto Oranguru where it is going to be resisted. The opponent is farming up past a potential Night Slash, so my guess is they're probably running Ice Punch and Shadow Ball. The foul play is going to get them low. They're only getting to one charge attack here. Shadow Ball, even though it's resisted, does get same type attack bonus, so it will do slightly more than an Ice Punch. Back in comes the Gliscor. Gliscor will be able to fire off the Night Slash and KO the Oranguru. But now, oh my goodness, Annihilate just gets to do massive overkill. Shadow Ball knocking out the 1 HP Gliscor and securing the win. Tough lead in the next match, Tapu Koko into Clefable. This is a type neutral matchup, but again, Tapu Koko is going to be outpaced here, and Tapu Koko is not known for its bulk. The opponent is going to bait with the Meteor Mash, Tapu Koko committing the shield, and returning fire with the Nature's Madness. Nature's Madness will be shielded, Tapu Koko continuing to farm, unable to make Nature's Madness number 2. Tapu calls the bait, the Meteor Mash does not KO. That is a big call, as a Moonblast would have been able to knock out. Able to make another Nature's Madness and win switch advantage. And that's so big because they have a Sand Slash. In comes Annihilate. They're staying in to throw energy, but just like that, they've lost 50% of their HP. Drill Run will connect onto the Annihilate. In the back, it's a Poliwrath, and Poliwrath just has absolutely nowhere to run against this team. There's a Tapu Koko, there's an Annihilate, and just when you thought you had got rid of all of the Poliwrath counters, here is a Trailblaze XL Oranguru to boost its attack, fully farmed down. The opponent is going to see the writing on the wall and concede the match. We see a familiar lead in the next match, Tapu Koko into Shadow Feraligatr. Again, not as good as one might think. Opponent safe switches into Skeledirge, and Skeledirge will be answered with the XL Oranguru. Shadow Ball is going to be single resisted, will still probably do slightly more damage. They're going to go for the cheaper Disarming Voice. Oranguru, oh my goodness, expecting a shield, going for the resisted Trailblaze here. The Trailblaze does not get shielded, the gamble does not pay off, and that is very unfortunate for the Oranguru. Oranguru shields up the Disarming Voice, very close to the foul play. This will be knocking out, putting the opponent in an interesting position. They elect to just let that go, sending in the Feraligatr. Feraligatr desperately trying to Shadow Claw down, but they're unable to do so before Oranguru makes the foul play. The foul play does get shielded. Aggressive switch into the Tapu Koko, getting the Volt Switch through. No shielding as the Hydro Cannon connects, dealing massive damage. We're now going to see the shield from the Tapu Koko. Tapu Koko really trying to get rid of this Feraligatr. Feraligatr is going to get Volt Switch down, and in the back, it's a Como-O of all things. Como-O has to shield the Nature's Madness. That would be double super effective damage, but they're now debuffed. And Dragon Claw is not going to cut it against Annihilate. Annihilate can make it to the Shadow Ball. Their defense is debuffed, so this probably just knocks out, and it does. Goodbye, Como-O, and that's a good game. In the next match, we see Tapu Koko versus Annihilate. Opponent save switches into Steelix, and Steelix will instantly be answered with his own Annihilate. Now, Tapu Koko into Annihilate. Annihilate, if it's running Ice Punch, can actually win the 2 shield. So if you're playing that out as the Tapu Koko, typically, as long as you're able to grab both shields, you're more than happy to just let that go. The opponent ends up shielding a Night Slash, which is a very risky play on their part, as if the Annihilate got the boost, things could get out of hand very, very quickly. We are now going to see a shield from the Annihilate. Annihilate is going to get the counter down. The opponent is going to bring back in their own Annihilate, opting to go for the Night Slash, worried that the Shadow Ball would not be reached, and it looks like, oh, that would have been really close. That would have been very close. I think may have been able to get to the Shadow Ball there. Back in comes the Tapu Koko. Koko is going to commit the shield, as the opponent is going to go for the Shadow Ball, and in the back, it's a Shadow Alolan Sand Slash. They successfully baited out the counter user, and now, I was going to say this looks like trouble, but not after landing the Thunderbolt. The opponent tried to call the Nature's Madness bait. They're going to get the knockout, and this is where them having Shadow Claw is unfortunate for them, because the Shadow Claw is basically doing nothing here since it is resisted. They go for the Drill Run. XL Oranguru is a bulky Pokemon, able to get that farm down. In comes the Annihilate, going for the boost here with the Trailblaze. Trailblaze is a guaranteed attack boost. Opponent lets it through, and it all comes down to this. Can Oranguru survive this charge attack? It's the Ice Punch. That's not going to be a problem. Oranguru takes the win. Great lead in the next match. Tapu Koko versus Shadow Dragonite. They save switch into a Poliwrath. People running ABA weak to Fairy, and they're getting punished for it. You absolutely love to see it. Scald is going to do some pretty nice damage onto the Oranguru, but Oranguru is the bulky Pokemon on this team, able to shake off that damage, go for the Trailblaze, and get the farm down. These confusions are going to add up on the Shadow Dragonite. Dragonite unable to farm down before the foul play is reached. And this foul play is going to do a lot. They no shield. They take another confusion. In comes the Tapu Koko. Superpower does do a solid amount of damage, but as the Koko, you're very happy because that just means that, yeah, the Volt Switch KOs, and now you can just debuff whatever's in back, and it ends up being a Talonflame. Talon does not call the Nature's Madness bait. We will see a switch. That is very, very nicely done. A switch to try and defer the Incinerate damage onto the Annihilate. The Fly is going to be shielded, and now, I mean, the Talon is just running out of HP. If you can get it into 1 Volt Switch range, then the game is just over, because the Volt Switch being 4-turn is going to register before the 5-turn Incinerate, and this is Volt Switch range, which means this game is a win. Talonflame will be able to knock out with the Fly, but 4 turns go before 5 turns, and Tapu Koko clutches the win. Bit of an awkward lead in the next match. Tapu Koko into Shadow Alolan Sand Slash. Ideally, you would love to have this aligned against the Annihilate, but the Annihilate is stuck in the back. Drill Run would just knock out, so we will see a shield. Oh, and it's a shield on an Ice Punch bait. Speaking of baits, going for the Nature's Madness, trying to get that shield. The opponent calls the bait. That's a bit unfortunate for the Tapu Koko. Tapu Koko looking to double shield and commit to the farm down. Tapu Koko, is not going to get the farm down, but is going to get the catch. Making the catch onto the XL Oranguru. Opponent, they've got to be so weak to confusion in the back as they send in a Poliwrath. Poliwrath throws on alignment, and we see an entire free confusion for the Oranguru. Oranguru returning fire with the Trailblaze. Trailblaze will hit for super effective damage. They're going to let that through. Oranguru forces a simultaneous KO. So whatever the opponent has in the back, it has 2 shields to work with. Clock hits 0. In comes the Tapu Koko. It's a Shadow Tentacruel. And unfortunately, I don't think I see a path to victory in this game. Even with the Nature's Madness getting shielded, the opponent can just reset the debuff, and they do right there, and they should be able to make it to multiple Scalds, and there's just no coming back from that. The Scald is going to connect. It gets the attack drop, but realistically, I don't think that's going to matter too much. The opponent has the second Scald now. Full sending the Shadow Ball, forcing the shield, going for the Night Slash on charge attack priority, but it's just not going to be doing enough damage. The Night Slash will connect and gets the boost. Oh no! If the Night Slash was thrown first and shielded, maybe that could have been a win, but unfortunately the opponent gets the shield call right and takes the game. Amazing lead in the next match. Tapu into Dragonite. Opponent save switches into Tentacruel, which is still taking super effective damage from the Volt Switch, but at least with Poison Jab, it can hit back. but bad news for the Tentacruel, as in comes Oranguru. Oranguru does get debuffed by the Scald, but guess what? Just like that, one Trailblaze later, the Scald debuff is gone. Oranguru back to normal. Oranguru honestly might want to commit a shield here, just because keeping switch advantage is incredibly nice. Will get the farm down, and now gets to fire off some foul plays at the Dragonite. Dragonite's health is basically useless in this game, so I like the no shield by the opponent. The opponent does get the farm down. Now they're met with Tapu Koko, and it's a Jellicent in the back. Now this is actually going to be a bit of a tricky endgame, because the Annihilate doesn't really have anywhere to go. Oh, they no-shield a Nature's Madness, just fully sacrificing the Annihilate to a Shadow Ball. That does so much damage. Going for the Night Slash, the opponent is going to get a Hex in as the Night Slash picks up the knockout. Back in comes the Dragonite. Opponent hoping against hope that Dragonite is going to be able to deliver enough damage. This is superpower range. Tough call to make, committing the shield. It's the superpower. Dragonite makes another move. Is it another superpower? Does it KO? It's the superpower, but it does not KO, and that's a win. Hopping into the next match, leading the Tapu Koko into Greedent. Not a good lead for the Tapu Koko. Tapu Koko just really gets outbulked here, makes life very uncomfortable. Greedent is going to be firing off the Body Slam as it is able to outpace. The Body Slam is going to connect, saving the energy, and now sending in Oranguru. Oranguru is able to withstand whatever they throw here. Opponent will go for the super effective Crunch, and now they're going to send in Guzzlord, and it's all going wrong. Oh man. Oranguru is completely walled by Guzzlord, able to boost up its attack with a Trailblaze, and now fire off the foul play, but Guzzlord just does not care about this energy. It's just a complete nightmare for Oranguru. Opponent knows that, and they fully commit to a farm down. The thing is, Tapu Koko is a wall to energy from the Guzzlord, but the Tapu Koko has already taken a lot of damage, so Crunch will add up here. They go for the Brutal Swing. That does quite a lot of damage, and now Tapu Koko is going to try and pick up the KO with the Nature's Madness, but the opponent is going to save the energy, send in the Greedent, and Greedent will be answered with the Annihilate. So far, the opponent is running a team extremely weak to fighting, so you have to imagine their third Pokemon is going to have some kind of a fighting resist, which is not amazing news for our friend Annihilate. Annihilate looking for the counter farm down. Greedent just spamming out these charge attacks. It's yet another Crunch, and Annihilate will get the farm down. In comes the Guzzlord. Guzzlord, after seeing that this is Night Slash and Shadow Ball, knows that it can tank a move, so it is going to no shield. We're now going to see the shield from the Annihilate, just hoping against hope that Annihilate is going to be able to sweep. In the back, we see a nice catch onto the Tapu Koko. Tapu Koko is going to barely hang on, but it's Tentacruel in the back, and unfortunately, there's just no winning this one. Gonna try and go for Night Slash bait, but the opponent doesn't have to shield this. They tank it, even if it is the Shadow Ball, so we will see the no shield. Opponent is going to make the Scald, and unfortunately, the opponent running a very unbalanced style team, but it ends up working out well for them, and that's basically just a hard counter game. Hopping into the final match, we see the same leads as last game, Tapu Koko into Greedent. And Greedent lead proved to be a pretty big problem last time. Opponent is going to be firing off the Body Slam. We see the no shield by the Tapu Koko, willing to absorb that damage, this time staying in and going for the Nature's Madness. Trying to get some value out of the energy. The Nature's Madness is going to connect. Tapu Koko unable to make Nature's Madness number 2 because Greedent is able to fire off the Body Slam first. Koko commits the shield, going for the Nature's Madness. This will be able to knock out unless the opponent matches shields, and they do. Koko honestly put in a massive amount of work against this Greedent, getting Greedent deep into the red, and now sending in the Oranguru. Oranguru will immediately be met with energy from the Greedent. We see the no shield as the Crunch connects. Oranguru gets the Confusion farm down. Opponent sending in Skeledirge. And this is honestly really good news. You definitely want to see the Skeledirge here and not against the Annihilate. Foul play will connect. That does heavy damage to the Skeledirge. Skeledirge should, I believe, be able to pick up a knockout with the Disarming Voice. So we will see the shield and able to make foul play number 2. Opponent has a choice. Do they match shields here? They do. Oranguru gets the Confusion through in the back. It's their own Annihilate. And this is looking like it's game over as they have the energy advantage. They're going to be able to make it to a Shadow Ball. The Shadow Ball connects, dealing massive, massive damage. Able to withstand that damage, but unfortunately, it's just Incinerate time. Oh, and the Skeledirge banked a move as well, so they don't even have to rely on the Incinerate damage. Shadow Ball is going to pick up the KO. I believe this is a 4-1 set. I had the battles a bit out of order, so I had a loss from a previous set, unfortunately, right at the end with this one. But he is able to claim the 4-1 set and get to Veteran, so very nicely done. All in all, this has definitely got to be one of the more unique teams that have seen hit Veteran this season, so big congratulations to Bandman Clayton. And with the team that has several pretty interesting picks, I do think that it's a team that definitely requires some very careful gameplay. Like, this is a team where I feel like if you don't play precisely, it could definitely go quite wrong because you're running some very unique stuff. So big props to Bandman for being able to make those like precise plays and pilot a team which doesn't seem to be a particularly easy team to pilot by any means and hit Veteran with it. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.